Welcome back to San Francisco for Global Marketing Day. We are 20 hours in. That sounds great, but we still have 4 hours to go. Lots of great content for you guys that are out there. Make sure you guys are on the socials. I was checking the Twitter feed in between. Lots of great comments, questions, some screenshots. Apparently I look short on every one of the screenshots of everyone that's out there, but that's what happens. I'm kind of used to that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying this content we have. And I'm excited we have another great presentation coming to you from a couple of my good friends here. And our next presentation will be from Winnie's son, who's a financial advisor counsel at CNBC Digital. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Winnie serves on CNBC's Financial Advisory Council, is the regular on the money contributor on Good Day LA, and was selected as Investment News 20 Women to Watch. We'll also be joined by both Courtney and Shane, who are going to jump in, and we're going to have some great conversations after Winnie's presentation. So as you're listening to the presentation, make sure you're adding your questions not only on Twitter, but here in the comments feed, and I will try to bring them into the conversation as we move forward. But with that, I hand it over to Winnie to move forward.
Thank you, Brian. So awesome to be here with you.
Excited to sit next to you.
Awesome. So we are going to be talking about tweet chats today. Now, if you have any knowledge of what a tweet chat is, then you know that these are the best ways to really build a community. Not just a community, but a very organic, excited community. In fact, Mr. Alfonso here, I know you've been on many tweet chats. Now, those of you who are new to Twitter, or maybe you are on Twitter, you're not that active, you might think, well, what is a tweet chat? I'm going to explain that to us today. So, quick hello to all those of you who don't know me already. This is sort of my bio. These are some numbers that we have on Twitter. So I have about 365,000 followers on Twitter. My tweet chats average about 150 million impressions per hour. We are the largest business chat on social media today. We trend probably 70 to 80% of the time that we do a tweet chat. And so far, the tweet chat has exceeded, the hashtag Winnie's son has exceeded 21 billion impressions to date. So what is a tweet chat, right? You might be asking yourself. Well, a tweet chat is where you tweet during a designated time. You have a certain conversation and you follow a specific hashtag. In our case, the tweet chat is hashtag Winnie's son. I can't take credit for that. My publicist encouraged that, and I think that was a good idea in terms of branding. It really helped sort of drive conversations about money, personal finance, entrepreneurism, social media. And we have a lot of leaders that come in that have and encourage these discussions. It is also a great way not only to follow a conversation, but also to make new friends, build in new followers, and engage with people. I mean, this is a great way because a lot of celebrities, media will be participating in these sort of tweet chats because they're having that ongoing discussion with you, and it's totally live. So it's really cool. You can join in your pajamas, you can join from any part of the world, and people do. And that's what's awesome about doing a tweet chat. So here's a really fun quote from Jen about what a tweet chat is. But really, sharing the knowledge with your community is so important. You know, people always talk about what's the heart and soul of social media, and that is engagement. So having this sort of scheduled time where everybody's coming together at a specific hour during the week, you know that you're going to be there. It really builds a sense of community. It's like the whole group getting together, regardless of where, what part of the country they're in. This is a great way to engage and to continue to have your numbers continue to grow. So some of the tweet chats, they kind of come in three different flavors, if you will. So a lot of times celebrities or executives will join tweet chats, and that's because that's like your time where you can actually reach out to them without having their phone number and without emailing them. You can actually communicate to them on Twitter. So these days, more big influencers and celebrities are more active on social media than ever before. There's also hobbyists for people to talk about like coffee or talk about popular TV shows like Game of Thrones. That was like obviously trending for a long time. And then there's Q&A centered tweet chats, which is a lot like mine. So we'll throw out 15 questions, people will answer them, and then that engagement will occur. So why would you think of hosting a tweet chat? Well, first off, the reason I did it was to build brand recognition for my business. So we are a financial planning firm out in Southern California. not exactly the most sexy, most exciting business, but through social media activities, we have become kind of the it kid where everybody like enjoys our content and wants to talk to us. Increases visibility, and it gives us a chance to partner with brands and media to sort of expand our reach. And therefore, partnerships that I have are like with Forbes and CNBC and Good Day LA and whatnot. So it's definitely a win-win. So tweet chat tips: schedule and block your time block. Your tweet chats are super fast. I always say if it's your first time in your tweet chat, especially on my tweet chat, which goes super fast, make sure you have your beverage, okay, of choice, whatever that may be. Make sure you've got music pounding in the background, ideally pop music or dance music because it goes really quick. And then just go at it and try to answer as many questions as you can. Be kind, be real, be authentic, just be yourself. Check your answers for grammar. I am the typo queen, so I am so bad at this, but I will tell you, whenever you're tweeting, because there's no edit button, you want to try and kind of eliminate typos as much as you can. I say that, I don't do this, but I try to as much as I can. But be consistent, and most importantly, welcome others and engage the community, because social media, as we all know, isn't about us. It's about our audience and our community, and they really define us if we're going to be doing social media. So the tweet chat, super awesome. If you have any questions, this is how you can reach me.
All right, I love it. And I thank you, Winnie, so much for that great presentation. Twitter chats are a huge part, not only for me being a guest now, but early on I hosted a couple for a couple of years as well. And so I'm excited to not only see what the questions that you guys might have around Twitter chats, but to bring our two guests into the conversation. And first I'll go ahead and introduce Courtney. Courtney is a dedicated social media strategist committed to helping her clients cultivate, nurture, and grow their social media presence. Over the course of her career, she's helped many individuals and organizations reach their target audience and uncover untapped opportunities through social media. And next to her is Shane Barker. Shane specializes in influencer marketing, product launches, content marketing, targeted traffic and website conversions, as well as helping customers build trust and through authentic content marketing and authentic social media engagement. And so I'll start here, Courtney, with you as far as, I think a lot of people that are on Twitter understand Twitter chats, but they're also kind of figuring out how that all fits in. Like, why should I spend my time, an hour a week? At one point in my career, I had a Twitter chat calendar on my calendar that blocked off 40 Twitter chats a week that I was actively participating in because I really felt that value. But when you see like the idea of advising someone to participate not only in a Twitter chat but in Twitter, what's some of the things you see? What are the visibility? What's the value proposition you're kind of presenting to them to participate in these things?
Well, I think that there's a few different value propositions that come along with it. One, it can be very informative. You can learn things. But the greatest part of all the tweet chats I've ever participated in is the fact that I meet new people through Twitter that way. And I gain followers, organic followers, people that I know. It's not just somebody's following me and I don't know why or I don't know from where. And vice versa. I end up finding people that are interesting that I want to follow. So I think it's a great way to build your network organically with quality followers and even make some new friends.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think Winnie and I actually became friends thanks to that. And I think in both of our worlds probably wouldn't have intersected if it wasn't for Twitter chats kind of bringing those conversations together. I'm going to bring some questions in from you guys that are watching here in the audience. So feel free, even on Twitter, and my tagline is I talk fast and tweet faster. Like Twitter is my game. That's where I love. So bring in your questions. Use the hashtag Global Marketing Day. I'm curious, Shane, from your side, I know you talk a lot about influencer marketing. We talk, content. We're kind of mapping all those things. On Twitter, it's a lot less about the content and the influence and more about the conversation. How do you look or how do you present, Twitter from, your audience and when you're advising clients on why you should spend time there?
Yeah, I think Twitter is a necessity these days. I mean, there's a lot of people when they go up and they go, yeah, but I just don't know how to control it. Like, when I get on Twitter, like, what do I do? And I think the tweet chats are a great example of a way that you can get everybody to come in and be able to talk and have those communications. And once again, as Courtney talked about, meeting new people, right? And also learning new things. I think Twitter can become daunting in the sense that you're like, yeah, but there's billions of people on there and they're sending millions of tweets and all this crazy stuff. Like, how do I control that, right? And really, it comes down to the different either tweet chats or the different streams that you can be involved with, and then also following certain people. That is going to put you in a better situation, so you can be able to kind of go through instead of drinking out of the fire hose, and then being able to better understand how to use Twitter and the people that you can meet there.
So I love that. And so I think, for Twitter, I think hashtags, we all know what hashtag, and Winnie's son being the hashtag, which I like to say is it's the glue to the conversation of a Twitter chat. But I'm curious, Shane, from some of the Twitter chats that you participate, what are some of the maybe the surprises, or maybe something that you can say from hey, I participated in this, it connected me to this, and it moved a business needle. Because I think sometimes they are overwhelmed by Twitter, but if you do understand how to use a hashtag, understand how to join in conversations, I believe it's one of the easiest places to grow your business. What's something that would jump out as you as a good example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The first time I was invited to a Twitter chat, I kind of was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I even on this, right? Because I really thought it was going to be, somebody asking me questions and me giving some answers, and there might be like my mom on there or something, right? I didn't think there was going to be a lot of engagement, but I was thoroughly shocked and surprised on how many different people that either A, were in my industry that were involved with it and that were actually answering and responding, and people that even outside of my industry that I've met. I mean, I've met a lot of people through Twitter chats in regards to either A, it's generating business. So if somebody's asking me a question and I'm answering the question, then people go, hey, well, I was actually looking for somebody to do this, and it has a hashtag in it. Whether it be influencer marketing, whether it be online marketing, whatever that is. Somebody sees that, they see that you're a part of this. Now you're an authoritative figure because you're on a tweet chat. You get all kinds of people responding. As long as you can respond fast enough, good things happen, and then you can obviously meet clients, and a lot of good stuff's happened for me. But like I said, the first time I did it, I wasn't really sold on it. I mean, before I did it, I thought, God, I'm just kind of wasting an hour of my time, and it's been phenomenal.
So Courtney, I would love to hear your thoughts. There were some questions that came in. I think one of the questions was really about this idea of how do I create a Twitter chat? And I think if you're asking that question, I like to say the first thing you should do is be participating in other Twitter chats, probably much more so. But where do you kind of see that balance of being active in other chats, which are active communities today, versus seeing the light to say, maybe this is something that I can create myself?
Well, I think that if you find your target market and you know about something that people want to talk about, and you like doing Twitter chats, then that's your answer. You should go ahead and do it. But it takes some preparation. I think it takes finding a few people in advance, 3 to 5 people in advance that are designated to join you as your special guests that will help you spread the word about your Twitter chat coming up, and that will be engaging, and hopefully their followers will engage, and it'll help you. Because when you're just getting started, if you don't have 300,000 followers like Winnie does, you don't want to run a tweet chat and not have anybody show up. So designating 3 to 5 special guests to get on and to be the speakers with you will help you spread the message, and for sure that you'll have some participants.
It's amazing, the power of collaboration. And Winnie, I'm curious, when you and I first connected on Twitter, we both had a lot less followers than we have now. And so I think sometimes people can look at it and say, wow, you have all these followers, no wonder you like Twitter. But if you looked at it from your standpoint, when you were starting out and you even getting advised to do this, what were some of those early wins that kept you excited about growing your community? Because now it's exploded, but there had to be some times where you're like, do I really need to focus my time on a social platform like this? And it's an hour every day, but you're planning the questions ahead of time, you're lining up a guest. Like, what was that early wins or things that kind of kept you going early on in the Twitter chat?
Oh, totally. I mean, think about it. I'm a financial nerd. I mean, we are not cool on social media, right? So even more challenging, it's much more cool to be Brian, because you'll get a lot more followers more quickly. Financial advisors, we have to work for every single follower. But certainly for me, it was kind of an aha moment. I mean, you and I both have a mutual friend by the name of Chelsea Cross, who has this amazing tweet chat, Millennial Talk. If you haven't been on, I highly recommend trying out Millennial Talk. It's an awesome tweet chat. And so I would participate in hers, and then she would come on mine, and because we were friends. And I remember when people started saying like they looked forward to, because our chat's every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, they would come every Wednesday. It's like, when I'm not there, like today, I'm here, so we didn't have a tweet chat. People will mention like, oh, we'll miss you, but we understand. And that's when I knew we were onto something special, because if you just are able to even reach one person who feels that they're missing something, or you're giving them something that they care about, then that's a win. So it's not so much numbers, but that sort of the heart of the community. People always say like, oh my gosh, I love your tweet chat so fast. And it's like, I know, but it's not me. It's like, I'm just happen to be there. But we have the nicest people. I always say we have the nicest people on Twitter on our tweet chat. If you come, doesn't matter where you're coming from, everybody will be kind to you. And that's amazing. And then like Brian knows, now we're tweeting and sharing. I respond to his stuff all the time. Like, you feel like you want to support your friends on social media who support you back, and these are your people. These are your tribe.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that idea on social media where like not only where do I find my people, but where do I have active conversations with my people? Like social media, the first word is social. Sometimes we forget that as marketers, and we forget that side of it. One of the questions that came in from Twitter, Shane, I'll kind of direct this to you. First time, like, how do you find new Twitter chats? And if you're not sure where that is, like, what are kind of the hashtags maybe you can look at? We mentioned Chelsea Cross with Millennial Talk, but how do you discover maybe a new Twitter chat? Maybe example of how you discovered one.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at hashtag Twitter chat. I mean, that's a first start. No, but I really think what it comes down to is you have to look at, who are the individuals or who are the influencers, the people that you want to follow, and then you want to take a look at they have a Twitter chat, right? So, and there's also, if you go and you do a nice little Google search of millennial Twitter chat, or if you do something like that, there'll be lists, there'll be somebody, potentially even on my website, that has a list of, the 25 people to follow in the financial space or in the, whatever, social media space. And so there's Google's a phenomenal tool in the sense that you can put in some information. If you're looking for Twitter chats plus financial or plus whatever, you can go and do those searches and find them.
I love that. And I think it is amazing. And don't be Twitter is a platform where if you see someone that you're looking up to, asking them what Twitter chats they participate on, it's a pretty simple the byline on making that through. And Courtney, one of the questions we came in as far as finding the usefulness of a Twitter chat or even Twitter as a whole, are people seeing it more as a personal marketing win or a business marketing is the question that we got here.
Both, really. I mean, people and businesses use it differently, obviously. But the neat thing, I think, for businesses is it allows the clients, the customers, to reach out to them directly, to contact key people that they normally wouldn't be able to without a Twitter. So, for example, I know somebody who was having a tough time on a particular airline, I won't name which one, and he tweeted something about what was happening, and the airline actually responded and got back to him. And so that was a win-win from a personal standpoint for him and for the airline, because they showed great customer service. And from a personal standpoint, I've met so many people and made so many friends. It's how I met Winnie. It just, I think, definitely for your personal relationships, it's a great way to meet new people, to network, and catch the eye of media and PR if that's something that you're trying to do for your business or personally. All the media and the PR people are on Twitter.
And I think, especially from a brand perspective, a brand jumping into a Twitter chat that's not their own, it wins me over to the highest degree, right? Because it requires social listening, caring about a conversation, not driving everything about yourself. And I think there are some great brands. I actually participate in Sweet Talk, which is by Cinnabon, and Cinnabon does a Twitter chat. And you're like, it's a Twitter chat from a company that's doing cinnamon rolls, but really it has conversations, everything from health to travel to something that's going on, which I think is a lot of fun. And Shane, I'm curious, both you and I talk a lot about influencer marketing. We even share some of the same stages together. People don't really talk influencers on Twitter. We talk about Twitter lists where we talk about people that are very influential. But when I hear brands bring up, hey, I'm looking for influencers, the first thing they say is Instagram. It's like a magnet. Yet I would argue to reach an audience that doesn't know you, doesn't like you, but cares about a certain conversation, Twitter provides that even more value than Instagram. How would you present that to a brand or maybe even some individuals that want to be more influential? Where does Twitter fit in that to be kind of grow your influence or thought leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think people always think Instagram because it's that lifestyle type thing, and they think influencers, so you think the private jet and the pink poodle and the caviar that you eat, right? So Twitter absolutely has influencers in the sense that, those people have built these communities. I think if you're looking for people that are actually having communication, right? So, I mean, when you have something, you put something on Instagram and then people communicate, it isn't really communication. It's like somebody writing a comment. Twitter is where you're actually having true communication and you can have true influence. It's one thing to have a big followership on Instagram. Great, that's awesome. You might have some influence there. But Twitter is where you really have engagement. You're really having that back and forth conversation. And I think a lot of brands miss that, right? There's huge value in, as Brian was talking about, if you have a brand that comes in and jumps in the middle of a Twitter chat, or if you have a brand that actually responds, you have a bad experience and they respond to you, then you feel like you're being heard, right? And that's a true engagement engagement that really, if you're really talking about true influence, it really is that engagement. If you don't have that engagement, you don't really have true influence over your audience. And so I think that's where, Twitter is often not looked upon because once again, it's not that lifestyle, right? They don't think of it as a lifestyle thing. But you have Winnie over here that's like 100 billion hashtags or whatever she's got, or whatever, you have the exposure from the impressions from her hashtag. I mean, that right there is true influence, right?
The brands do sponsor a lot of our tweet chats too.
Yeah, because it's, once again, that's impressions, right? That's the overall exposure of what you can get by being involved with that community. So I think Twitter's like, I just think it's just people don't think about it as much when it comes to influencers, but I think it's a huge miss if people aren't there.
So one of the questions I got from Victor, and I think Victor asked a great question last time as well, so thank you, Victor, for watching, and everyone that's kind of bringing their questions in throughout this conversation, was really about repurposing Twitter chat content, a conversation. But I think we just mentioned a couple of things right here, like the idea that you're now connecting a guest to your brand and your conversation, right? That's one. Sponsored Twitter chat, that's taking things to the next level. I think it was something I remember 4 years ago, we were like, I wonder one day if that would happen. And now it's something that is much more frequent. I'm curious, Courtney, maybe from a standpoint of, looking at ways that a Twitter chat outside of the 1 hour that it goes on. I say hour, some Twitter chats are 30 minutes, or some of them are weekly, some of them are monthly. I think that's something that we often overlook as well. It doesn't, the cadence really is determined by the person hosting it. When you think about, repurposing or leveraging the content or conversation that's happening in that hour, what are some of the ideas or things you've seen done with people using that content?
Well, you can write a recap of the results and some of the key trends that you found and put it into a blog post. You could also run a recording screen and save that for somebody to recap later and play it as a video. There's a couple different ways that you can do it.
I love that. And I can tell you, Semrush does a Twitter chat. We have to give them some love. And I was actually just a guest a couple weeks ago, and I was looking at my Google Analytics, and I can tell you, massive spike in traffic to my website the day that they did their recap blog. And not only was it a massive spike, but I was one, as the guest, that got to help direct what the topic was. Therefore, I'm getting people that are going to my website based on a topic that I cared to talk about, right? It's like, wow, this is one thing leading to the other. Shane, how do you look at that? Maybe even from a guest perspective, if you were saying, I will use the three-letter bad word ROI, where you're looking at the ROI of being a guest on a Twitter chat, or even the guest in, hey, I'm going to show up every week. I like to say sometimes being the guest is great. I would say sometimes being the most consistent person in a Twitter chat is even far more superior. How do you look at that ROI? Like, what's your return, for you individually if you were being a guest on a show or kind of showing up every week?
Yeah, I think when you talk about ROI, it really depends on, if you're talking about your investment of the time that you're putting into and what you're getting out of it, it really comes down to, if you're in there and you're involved in the Twitter chat, like Brian touched on, is like, hey, it's either the traffic that it brings to you, it's also going to be the thought leadership if you're a guest, and so people go, hey, if you're on, Winnie's show or you're on anybody's show, and they're like I was on Chelsea's as well, for the Millennial Talks, that obviously shows thought leadership, right? So no different than if you're on a podcast, no different than if you're, interviewed for a website or for a YouTube series. So it's the same deal. It's that same arena of like, hey, really it comes down to like, if I'm on a Twitter chat and I'm interviewed and things go well, then great, there's going to be other people that are watching that Twitter chat. They're going to say, hey, Shane did a phenomenal job. I loved his answers. A, we want to hire Shane, or B, we want to have him on our podcast or on something like that. So when I look at ROI, it's not necessarily, hey, I was on a Twitter chat and I made 10 grand, but I'm looking at how many more people followed me. I'm looking at the overall exposure and the people that I met.
No, I love that. And I'm curious. So we do have another great question that came in as we're kind of wrapping up this conversation around Twitter chats, and they talked about managing the content or even the conversation. I'm a big fan of TweetDeck as the for me actively participating. Unfortunately, Twitter owns them, but they don't have an app for TweetDeck. So if you're on your phone, you're kind of like stuck in that environment. But they also brought up the conversation, and it's interesting that they were asking about how do you handle negative conversations in a Twitter chat or maybe negative content that are in there. Winnie, do you have an approach to that? Do you have to deal with that very often? I think maybe from the outside in, they assume that because it's Twitter, there's lots of negative content in a Twitter chat. How do you look at that or approach that?
Well, if you're going to be on social media, you're going to get trolls, obviously. It doesn't matter what platform you are on, but especially on Twitter, because Twitter, there's like almost two things. Either you're really happy or you're really upset. But the nice thing about Twitter chats is you get to control the dialogue. So if you're sharing questions out that have a positive stance to them, most likely the answer will be positive. There's always going to be someone who throws in like something about their company, trying to sell something, or is very negative or very political or very something. But all you need to do is truly just literally like don't even respond to them. Because when you don't respond, the other people don't respond, or if they get ugly and they get hostile, the fun thing about tweet chat is the community will actually step in and tell them to step away. So I don't think you have to worry about that too much. Just do what you do best, and along the way you'll probably have to block a few people. That's the reality, but it'll be okay.
Well, and I love that, and I think that's also something that we kind of get amazed by, right? Like, I'm always blown away where we assume there's negativity, and even if there is negative, it's usually someone that just wants to be heard. They, and diffusing that. And I also think you'd be surprised the power of a community in a Twitter chat is something that I think we often underestimate. We're talking Twitter. We're going to wrap this up right now. We have to give Twitter handles, so we'll start. Shane will kind of work down here. Give their Twitter handle to the audience, so we at least have that before we sign off.
So it's Shane_Barker, and that's SHANE_BARKER.
Here we go. Courtney?
And mine is Court McQuade. That's COURTMCQUADE.
And Miss Winnie?
And my name is at Winnie Sun. So Winnie like Winnie the Pooh, Sun like sun in the sky.
Love it. And I'm iSocial Fans, letter I, social fans with a Z or a Z at the end. Love this conversation. Thanks so much, Winnie Sun from the Financial Advising Council at CNBC Digital, Courtney McQuaid, consultant social services solutions for financial services, and Shane Barker, CEO and co-founder of Content Solutions. I challenge you, if you haven't used Twitter, jump on there. If you used Twitter in the past and didn't find it value, I believe in 2019 it is super fun, super active, super engaged, and a lot different than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. Definitely jump out there, get on Twitter, and in that sense, use the hashtag Global Marketing Day on Twitter. I'm checking it. In between, we shuffle guests. The teams kind of shuffle everybody in and out. So I'd love to hear your comments, your questions, things that you guys are seeing that. So thank you so much, you three, for joining us, and we'll be back for some additional content here in a couple minutes.